I'd say it's looking unlikely. The reaction here in Brussels to this latest delay proposal from Theresa May has not been positive. There's annoyance that she's again proposing this end June extension date, which was already rejected when she brought it here to Brussels last month. Of course, the difference then is that EU leaders told her that extension is not possible because you would have to run a European Parliament election, and at that point, she was refusing to do so. Now she says she's willing, if this plan is accepted, to start organizing that European election. But she's saying this would be a rolling extension, and the idea is that the UK could still leave on May 22nd, that is the day before the UK would have to run those European Parliament elections, and she would then cancel those elections that the UK was preparing for. But as an insurance policy, the UK will start organizing those elections next week, and it would run them if it had to. Again, this is necessary because if the UK ends up still in the EU on July 2nd and it didn't run the European Parliament elections, that European Parliament could be deemed to be illegally constituted. And so it's a difficult situation for EU leaders to accept because that end June extension would be just 2 days before that new European Parliament takes office, and there's concern that another extension might be requested and that the UK would still be taken past that 2nd July date.
So just to get things straight, now whatever happens, whether we have the end of June extension, the June 30th extension, or the 1-year flexible extension, which Donald Tusk is talking about, all EU states need to agree on that.
Yeah, exactly. This has to be approved unanimously, and we're hearing a lot of voices against this, particularly from the more hardline EU leaders. Already, leaders such as French President Emmanuel Macron, European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz have said that they will not grant another extension after the 12th of April unless the UK Parliament has approved some kind of new plan, and that hasn't happened. And so we're really going to put those words to the test at that emergency summit that's being held next Wednesday. That's when we'll see when some of these hardliners, particularly French President Emmanuel Macron, whether he will relent and allow this rolling extension idea, even though nothing new has been passed. But I think nobody really knows what the outcome here is, because I think what's important to point out is nobody wants the UK to run in these European Parliament elections. This isn't something that people on the EU side want. Particularly, Macron is very concerned about, as people put it here, 49 Nigel Farages being elected in that parliament, and that new parliament starting with these UK politicians who would be trying to sabotage the EU from the inside. And of course, that idea was given credence today when Jacob Rees Mogg came out with a tweet urging the UK to do exactly that, saying that if there was a long extension, the UK should act as a saboteur inside the EU. And so that is not going to make EU leaders here inclined to grant that long-term extension, because there is that fear that the UK could just keep extending and extending, and in the meantime it would be inside the EU taking decisions, perhaps trying to harm the EU.
Thank you very much for that, Dave. Dave Keating there reporting for us from Brussels.